Katie Beats here from Pop Turner to speak to Shelley Hennig about Obliterated, which is now streaming worldwide on Netflix. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's so exciting. I know we talked before we started, that like that 1 minute pre-interview we want to call
Yeah,
it.
honestly, that's probably going to be the best part of the interview that was not recorded.
I know. It's just like, hi, how's it going? You're like, whoa.
I loved it. No,
I love this show so much.
I'm here for it.
I love the show. And congratulations, seriously. Like, I'm so happy for you and the cast and everything. There's always stages, right, when a project comes out. Like, I remember when this was announced, the big three, Josh, John Hayden, COBRA KAI, it's out. Best part about this show is that kind of down the middle split of it being like really action-packed and really, really funny. What's that mindset like from an acting storyteller perspective, showing up on a show that has that balance right out of the gate?
Well, I love chaos. So it was perfect for me. I love a challenge, and I've never done action and comedy together. And Sandra Bullock was not available, so they called me. And that was it was honestly a dream come true.
Yeah. And it's crazy because one of the things that I was kind of telling people about the show as well is the pace of this. Like, this does not slow down at
ever.
All. Like,
so imagine filming it like it was the same. There was no time to recover from the previous scene or anything. There was no recovery time until we wrapped, and I slept, I swear, for like 8 months.
Yeah, because it was just the pace of it. Absolutely. Like, it doesn't turn off. I mean, because it's like it's like the time crunch and you have to find the bomb and everything. But there's a lot of really funny things in this show. I don't know why. One of my favorite scenes was, I think it's episode 2 or 3. It just felt like you literally were in like an elevator for like most of the episode.
We kind of were.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely could not be claustrophobic. Yeah, there was a lot of elevator stuff. And then we also climbed the elevator shaft, which was, we were in harnesses for hours on end, and you couldn't pay me to get down from there. It was I'd never done anything like that. I mean, I've done a lot of action before, but never climbed an elevator shaft. There's a lot of firsts on this show.
Yes. The camel shows up in the hotel room. It was great. I loved it.
There's a camel.
There's a camel.
I mean, it was on the call sheet. His name is Skittles, like he was every piece of the show is important and contributes and adds so much life and character.
And, the chemistry like on screen with you and Nick is just amazing, but specifically like the hilarious banter is what I like the most, right? So there's obviously serious moments and everything, but just like the back and forth and the jabs. What was that like? And are there any conversations with Nick like before kind of going in and doing your thing, or does it just kind of happen?
No, we just did it. Like, that's what I loved about working with Nick. I mean, all of us, like, it was just immediate, safety and fun, and like we were just I think so well matched, and it just made it such a great experience. Yeah, we didn't really have to work too hard on that.
I feel like it depends on the project, because I do feel like sometimes there's conversations and like, hey, what's the plan? Or like, we're going to talk about the craft or anything. But I do feel like sometimes you just kind of go in. But like, does it depend on the project for you specifically? Like kind of the conversations with the cast before kind of doing a scene?
I just like to go in. Like,
No, yeah. I totally get that and everything.
See what happens.
I'm really wondering because, you've worked on such an incredible kind of body of work of different kind of genres and everything. And I know each kind of project you've worked on is different, but I feel like there's always going to be opportunities to take kind of like certain elements or certain kind of mindsets from projects. So for example, like when you work on Teen Wolf, do you take some of that stuff for Unfriended? Or like when you work on Unfriended or, something else like Ouija, like do you take that to Obliterated, or are they all kind of separate projects specifically?
Well, I mean, I can give you a very specific example. I did a lot of action on Teen Wolf for many years. So that was very helpful to play Ava Winters in Obliterated. So that was not a new thing that I had to get comfortable with. So that was nice to have that in my back pocket. They're all pretty different, but at the end of the day, I approach my characters the same way every time. I like to start physically, and I go from there.
It's all storytelling at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you just kind of go in. And I did mention, because I'm a big horror movie fan, so it has to be talked about. I mean, Unfriended is like one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that so much.
Oh, I love that.
It's actually hilarious too.
That's
like,
the key to my heart.
But
to
the
say
press
that.
day for that movie was literally virtual. And then, 3 years later, now all these things are virtual.
This is pre-pandemic, that film. I mean, it was so special. That's what I also look for when I get, the emails of what the projects are that I'm going to be auditioning or whatnot. I just thought that was such a unique way of storytelling. And now it's been done, a lot more since then. But yeah, we did that before it was like a thing. So that feels kind of cool.
Well, so here's the thing. Like, I don't know if do you like horror movies? Like, as a fan of them, do you enjoy them?
I'm going to be honest, I do not.
And that blows
I've done
mind.
like 3 of them, I think.
No, you know what? That actually is the coolest thing to hear and interesting, because it's like, there's some really scary scenes in Unfriended. And like,
yes. And I love the way that we filmed that. There was one day I realized I was sitting there and, spoiler alert, but like, I'm there to the end, and maybe not everyone is. And I was like, man, to have to start and stop so many times, and with how emotional it is, I was like, you know what? We're lit. Like, we were filming in a house. Each of us had a bedroom that was like dressed like our character's house.
Yeah.
And we were filming. We had laptops with like GoPros attached to them. So I realized in one moment, I was like, we could do this in one take. This is also improvised. And like, so I like raised my hand like a good student at lunch one day, and I was like, I have an idea. What if we shot this in one take, but like multiple times?
Yeah.
And I remember my cast face. They were like, no. And I was like, please. So we did. And it was so rewarding and like an experience I don't know if I'll ever be able to have again.
That movie paved the way for so much. Like, I'm sure you've heard of Host on Shudder, because there's a movie called Host. I don't know if you could see it, because it's actually like the scariest, like one of the scariest movies. There was actually a study that showed that it's like the scariest movie ever made, and it's like a Zoom seance, and like
maybe
things go wrong.
That would actually get me to.
I find it funny because
not that I dislike horror films. It's just not the first thing I put on.
You know what I just realized? It's literally like Ouija meets Unfriended. Literally what it is. So it's like, that's literally what the movie is. So I find that really Shelley Hennig inspiration.
Don't give me too much credit. Come on.
No, but I mean, you look at something like Obliterated, which has a lot of kind of those laughs, but I feel like something that kind of happens. I mean, your character is kind of going through a lot. Kind of, you find out that there's some tragic events that's happened to your character and everything. How is it for you to be a character that right out of the gate is multi-layered and misunderstood, like right away? Like, when we meet your character, we know there's a lot to kind of unravel. Like, what's that like for you?
I was just so grateful that Josh Hayden had those layers for me. I mean, it's not always the case, and it was there. And it's so important, especially for Ava, because she's the unfun one, and she's quite bossy, and she has a really big responsibility of wrangling these guys. And so to see right off the bat what she was covering, really, by throwing herself into this mission, it was important for the audience to be a part of, because otherwise you might not understand why she is the way that she is, and you may not be rooting for her. So yeah, I was relieved that it was there right off the bat, and we didn't have to wait so long for that.
Very, like, a lot of like intrigue with your character specifically. I know there's a lot of characters in this that, like, they have their own kind of episodes specifically where we learn more about them, but I feel like your character, Nick, I feel like every episode there was these like, all right, we're getting more about these two. You know what I mean? Every time.
Yeah. Like, each scene is iconic, like, just in general. Like, and when we were filming, I'd look at, like, I'd have to take it scene by scene, because it was a lot. And I'd be like, okay, this is the scene with the camel. Okay, this is the scene where we have sex in front of the camel. Okay, this is the scene where we're going to be climbing an elevator shaft for hours. Okay, like each scene was action packed and something iconic and crazy happened in it. So, I mean, you never got bored, that's for sure. And I mean, you see it's reflected in the show, and that's why it's so fun. And I'm genuinely a fan of the show, not because I'm in it, but it's freaking hilarious. And there's just no time to lose interest.
And that's what you want. You're strapped in like a roller coaster. I mean, I feel like that's the best way to kind of, I feel like you're on a roller coaster that you can't get off of with a Blu-ray.
And it felt like that while filming it.
Yeah, I know you said that.
But you know what? It was such a privilege because you're not always asked to do so much. And I mean, if you love what you do, you want to do as much of it as you can. And I feel like it was just like constant talent shows for us every day to like be able to show so many different sides and do so many different things, even physically. So that was cool.
I am going to kind of bring it up. I didn't want to bring it up right away and everything because I know it's always brought up. Teen Wolf and everything, global fan base, never going to go away. You saw it with the movie coming back and everything. You're on Obliterated on Netflix, streaming worldwide. You know, like before November 30th, it was kind of out of your hands. Now it's kind of literally in the world's hands. Do you get prepared for that kind of global impact with Obliterated, like knowing that you kind of dealt with that for many years on Teen Wolf because it was a global show? Like, did those two go hand in hand a little bit? Like, I'm curious about that.
Don't think about it. I just kind of, I just roll with it. Kind of show up, and I'm always like constantly surprised. Like, if someone recognizes me and they're a Teen Wolf fan or whatever, like I'm like, oh, right. No, it's just, it's so cool that show it means so much to people.
Yeah.
It's obviously very different than Obliterated, which I love. You know, I don't want to recreate anything. I don't want to keep doing the same thing. So it's cool that I, went from that and now this, and we'll see what's next.
Absolutely. And getting back to Unfriended quickly too, I found it so crazy because I remember going to see it with my friends like when the Friday it came out in theaters, and I remember also like I thought it was so. I mean, spoiler alert. I mean, the movie came out a long time ago, so it's like if people haven't seen Unfriended,
yeah,
like,
it's fine.
But like, I thought it was very well done that you were the one that filmed that video. Like, I did not see that coming at all. Like, it was like always there, right? A little bit, maybe that could have been you, and you don't think about it.
I might be making this up, but I don't think I am. I don't think that was always the case. Or if it was, they didn't tell us that until later. Like that movie was so like organic, if you will. And we were discovering on the day, and so many things would change, which I think I was naive to, because sometimes with independent films, like might be a first time filmmaker or what. And like, so I remember my cast, they'd done independent projects before and they were like, oh no, not another change. That's like scary for me. I was like, let's do it. I was ignorant. I was naive. And I got lucky that on this one, it worked. And it's a huge part of why, I think the movie, we're still talking about it this movie.
But it's like it was one of those movies that kind of launched, because like horror movies have always been around, but there's obviously been in the last like 10 years, like this huge surge where like they're the best movies, you know what I mean? And the most fun and everything. And I remember like watching this movie and saying like, this movie did things that like I've never seen before, obviously because it's, over Skype and everything. So that's a given, but like just the dynamics of the characters and like everyone getting back at each other. And like this, like basically this ghost is just like ruining everybody's lives basically and the relationships. You know what I mean? Like it was
causing a ruckus.
It was innovative. Like at the time, it was so cool.
That's the word. So innovative. I mean, I think they even like patented the technology they created for this. Like it was remarkable. It really
was amazing. And I had to bring it up. Yeah, I had to.
No, I'm so glad that I love that. Thank you.
Like I'm also creative as well, working on short horror movies and everything, and that's one I always think of because it's so cool, and you want to do that. You want to like, how do we make the genre, not the genre? And I always think of Unfriended because it was like something I've never seen before. But Obliterated, now dropped on Netflix worldwide. They can check that out. So funny, so entertaining. Shelley, it was an honor and privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. You're so fun. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Instagram is the best way to kind of keep up to date with everything, right? Is it just your name?
Yeah, it's just my name.
Okay, awesome. And
Yeah.
Obliterated is streaming now. Well, this has been Popturnative, youtube.com/Popturnative for previous episodes. You can catch Shelley Hennig in Obliterated, streaming now worldwide on Netflix. Until next time, so Shelley and PD Beats, signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.